So how did you guys meet? Obviously you're from the same scene, you have bands on the same circuit, that sort of thing. So you obviously crossed paths, but how did you initially meet? And then Seth, how were you approached by Blake to be part of this new project that he was working on that turned out to be Fugitive?
So we had met years ago at a venue called 1919 here in Fort Worth. It was a small DIY venue over in the south side of Fort Worth. And then years later, we became closer through our friend Daniel. And I've been moving all over the place, but I moved back to Fort Worth in 2016-ish, around that time. And I can't remember what, but we just started hanging out, and the whole Fugitive thing coming together. We were at breakfast one day in Fort Worth at a place called Trinity College, and we were in the middle of COVID. We were just riding bikes everywhere, and he was like, "Hey, do you want to start another band?" And I was like, "Yeah, let's get after it." And so we started brainstorming it and got after it, and here we are.
Yeah,
glad you did.
Yeah,
dude, it's been awesome.
We all are. I think I've mentioned to Blake in the past that, and Seth, we were talking a little bit off camera before we started this show. My son turned me on to Power Trip. Somehow I missed Power Trip the first go around. And by the time he turned me on to Power Trip, Riley, of course, had passed. And we were both like, oh, no, man. First of all, it's horrible news. But secondly, we're never going to get to see this band live. They're never going to put out another killer album. And I was thinking, man, what do they do from here? Because that band was so killer. And here comes Fugitive. And you guys have like exceeded all expectations that I could have imagined, because I thought Power Trip was unbeatable. But you guys are really doing something special, and in some ways carrying on the tradition of Power Trip. But you are making it your own. And in my opinion, you're the best metal band going right now.
Hey.
Big words.
Yeah, I know.
Love it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Jason's like, you need to listen to more metal notes.
No. So let me let these guys in on our pre-episode conversation, because Dave was texting me just wet. He was just fucking wet. You know, about you guys, about Fugitive, and what you guys are doing. And I was saying that the word I used was you're revisiting a style, and I didn't go into detail. I meant it was all positive when I, you know, in me using the phrase, because, and I believe that we've had the discussion with Blake about the sound, you listen to, I always think of Possessed and Seven Churches, but it's real murky sounding when you listen to that record. And when I listen to the Fugitive record, it's bright. And I hate the word modern, but it has a production that is crispier and a little bit more, than, muffly kind of metal blade drums, or what, where it sounds like the heads on the drum kit are 5 years old. You guys have more bite than something from the era. I feel like you guys, old hardcore and old thrash and old, because some of your songs are not just flat out a million miles an hour. There's more of a groovy thing, dare I say a rock and roll kind of a thing. Just as far as like tempos and the way you guys are putting your songs together, does that make any sense to you guys as far as where you guys are going with even new songs you're working on now? You're not going to go jazz Odyssey on us. You're going to stay the course of a style.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think you pretty much hit the nail on the head. I mean, the cool thing about what we do, and like when writing music now, is you get to kind of take all your favorite parts of things from the past, but without all the kind of boundaries that the bands of the past had to deal with. So, like right now, I mean, I was going a million miles an hour in Power Trip, and I definitely, you know, part of doing this band, part of the difference I wanted to have was to play a little bit slower, you know, and even play fast, but play like slower fast, you know, kind of go back into all my favorite, you know, new wave of British heavy metal stuff, and kind of take it back to Motorhead, and you know, before it went a million miles an hour. So I'd say like, you know, stop at like 1985. You know what I mean? So maybe not quite Possessed, but you know, like you know, try to like kind of get in there, and because yeah, like with Power Trip, if you know, if I went, I feel like I couldn't go too slow fast because then it wouldn't seem as intense as the other songs. So I sort of had a boundary there, and you know, it's fun to be able to go back into that and do all the fast picking that I like going along with. And there's a lot, you know, there's a lot more space, you know, a lot more groove. And so I can kind of take stuff from the early 80s and the mid 80s, and then I can, you know, I mean, there's also a big element of it where I'm into like some of the late 80s, early 90s records from some metal bands when they were trying to get heavier, and you know, experimenting with that. And I think that seems like a little more like a modern angle to take, because I think people really do still like heavy, you know, and you know, there should be an element of that. I always liked having heavy elements in Power Trip, but we all like heavy stuff too. I mean, it's not everything, you know. I think there's a place for it, but it you know, I think that type of stuff can translate to any listener. So I'm pulling stuff from like early 90s groovy groove metal type stuff, you know, things like, you know, like when Celtic Frost was getting groovier, and you know, the stuff they did that influenced Obituary and Sepultura, you know, that whole lineage and how that's going. And then I can kind of throw in, you know, the British heavy metal stuff that I like too, and the crossover and all that. So it's like I'm having a lot of fun because you know, one of my things I like to do is I just like connecting dots between sounds and bands, you know. So like, you know, finding the through line from, you know, Cro-Mags to, you know, through Metallica, Head, and all the common threads. It's like kind of fun to find things that go together that maybe in the past weren't put together. You know, that's kind of a way I like to try to find my own way through music, you know, and it maybe not so much reinventing the wheel, obviously, but you know, taking the parts that we all like or that I like, and you know, maybe putting them together in a way that maybe someone hasn't quite done before. You know, I don't know, maybe that's up for debate, but that's how I see it. I don't know, how do you see it, Seth? I don't want to do all the talking here.
No, that's pretty much he'll hit the nail on the head with that one. Just going through the more groovy stuff, and I mean, you pretty much got it all. I think I can add much to that.
I think one of the reasons I love it as much as I do, and I've said this to Blake before with regard to Power Trip, and as I was saying earlier, I see some carryover from Power Trip to Fugitive, and some of that's natural, of course, because you've got the songwriter and the guitar player here. But one of the things that I think that drives it home for me is the punk rock attack. There is, there's not a heavy reliance on blast beats. There's not, and Seth, I think your voice is perfect for what you guys are doing. I love the fact that I was trying to describe it to somebody, and I said the best I could come up with is it's guttural without being Cookie Monster.
Yeah, there's no burp and slurp.
Yeah.
You know, it's not the pig squeal. It's not, you know, it's not burp and slurp.
There's something there that I don't hear all the time. Like when you quote scream, it's not really a scream. It just sounds like a guy falling off a cliff or something like that. It's just like, and then there's like these little wretched little, you know, for emphasis, these little like vomit wretches, you know, and it's just perfect, man. And I hear some Lemmy in there, so it's raw and it's got sort of that sore throat vibe, but in some way it's somehow still somewhat discernible. Like you can hear the words that you're singing, even though the voice carries all this raw emotion with it. And then I think some of that might have something to do with some of the hardcore influences. I think that's what attracts me to Fugitive, is just that punk rock attack with not a lot of reliance on blast beats, not a lot of reliance on Cookie Monster vocals. It's just got all that just raw adrenaline attack, and it's just driving boom, 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 boom. We've had this discussion before, where it's just like a single kick just driving this thing home, and I think the vocals are perfect on top of it.